Welcome to Larry the Alchemist, where we discuss all things heavy metal and hard rock. On today's episode, three bands that I got off on the wrong foot with, that I had a bad first impression of. And this really has to do with I just so happened to buy the wrong album for my first album from these bands. Okay, I've got three of them and I don't actually own any of them. The first one is Wishbone Ash Front Page News. I had heard Steve Harris name drop Wishbone Ash repeatedly as an influence. And when I very first started getting into records after, when I was like 10 or 11 years old, when I started getting back into it in like 99, 2000, I bought a box of records on eBay. I think it was eBay. I don't even know if eBay existed in 99, 2000. I bought a box of records from somewhere, and it was a huge cardboard box, and it was about 25, 30 records in it. They were just sliding all over inside, and they came from a radio station, so they had call letters and everything written, all of them, unfortunately, and I've replaced pretty much all of those to this day, but the vinyl inside them were all like in mint condition. Anyways, there was a Wishbone Ash record inside there, and I thought, oh, this is awesome. Steve Harris, one of his biggest influences, Wishbone Ash. Oh man, this is going to be really heavy. Iron Maiden is heavy, and if Steve Harris is always name-dropping Wishbone Ash, they must be heavy. Well, the album that was in the box was Front Page News, and I'm going to show you a picture here of the album cover. And when I saw this album cover, I was like, what in the world is this? It looked like the guys were from Starsky and Hutch or some 70s, detective cop movie or something like that. The cover just looks so weird to me. And when I put the music on, it is nothing like classic Wishbone Ash, Argus, and the earlier Wishbone Ash albums, Pilgrim. This is like, I don't want to say soft rock, but it was pretty mellow. There was nothing heavy about it. I wasn't able to get through the record, and I totally dismissed Wishbone Ash for years until I picked up until somebody finally told me, you have to get Argus. That's the album that you need. And I did finally get Argus, and I was like, oh, okay, now I get it. Now I know why, and how Steve Harris was influenced by this. And I love early Wishbone Ash, but Front Page News, I hate that album cover. I don't like that record. It was just a total bad first impression for Wishbone Ash for me. All right, my next one is Trouble, Plastic Greenhead. And I actually kind of like this album. It's grown on me over the years, but I put it here because at the time I had just gotten Martin Popoff's original collector's guide to heavy metal. And Martin was raving on about Trouble and comparing them to Black Sabbath. And I was like, whoa, this sounds right up my alley. So Plastic Greenhead was the new album out at that time. I should have looked up the year it came out. It was probably like the mid-90s or something like that. And so that's what I got. And I can remember I was visiting my girlfriend, now my wife, and I had to head back. We had a long distance relationship for a little while. I had to head back home. I bought Plastic Greenhead at this CD store that was close to where she was working at the time. And I was going to listen to it on my way back, and I was just really disappointed. I was expecting 70s Sabbath. Now, learning later on, of course, that Trouble is an amazing, heavy, very Sabbath influenced band. I absolutely love Trouble. They're one of my favorite doom metal bands. But this particular record is a little bit more, I don't want to say stoner rock. It has a little bit of that. It has a little bit of a 90s influence. It just basically, to me, doesn't sound like the other Trouble records, like The Skull and Psalm 9 and all that stuff. So it just got me off to, I didn't hate it, but I was just really disappointed. I was expecting this big Black Sabbath moment. I had just discovered Candlemass, where I was like, whoa, this is very much Black Sabbath-like. And I thought, now Martin's always talking about Trouble. This is going to be, I'm going to get this, and this is going to be my next Candlemass. And it let me down, and it took me a little while then before I discovered the other Trouble albums and realized, like, oh, okay, this one's a little bit of an outlier compared to all the earlier stuff. All right, my third one and last one is Deep Purple, and I don't remember which specific one it was, but it was one of the first three Deep Purple albums with Rod Evans. And I had heard Deep Purple on 8-track. I've mentioned this story that I had a uncle that gave me a box of 8-tracks, and he had When We Rock, We Rock, When We Roll, We Roll. So maybe this one's a little unfair because I had heard some Deep Purple before this, but this was the first Deep Purple that I bought. I went into the store and I thought, wow, look at these, those first 3 Deep Purple albums. The covers look real scary and are really cool. And it reminded me of the Black Sabbath Greatest Hits album, which I had. And I thought, oh, this is going to be super heavy. This is going to be really, really cool. And I remember I bought it at the mall. I had my Walkman with me. I couldn't, wait to get it out and put it in. And I was going to walk around the mall listening to, whichever Deep Purple one for one of those first 3 that I bought. And I was just so disappointed because it was like a psychedelic, late 60s psych type of thing. And although there were some moments here and there, it was just not at all what I was expecting. And I will say that didn't scare me off from Deep Purple because I landed up getting Made in Japan at a garage sale in my development not too long after that. But I remember it did sort of make me hesitate because When We Rock, We Rock, When We Roll, We Roll, I believe had a few of those songs on there like Kentucky Woman and stuff like that. So I was like, oh my gosh, is this like what Deep Purple is all the time? This is, maybe those couple of like Highway Star, maybe those are the outliers and it's really Kentucky Woman all the time. So it sort of scared me with Deep Purple. So, all right, there you go. Those 3 albums that bad first impression. These are all bands that I went on to really, really like. So let's call them bad first impressions. Have you ever had that experience with a band where the first album you listened to by them is sort of an outlier and something that you didn't really like, but then you went on and you did really discover that you do really like this band and you just picked a bad first album to get into them from? Let me know in the comments down below. Till we see you again, make sure you stay heavy, stay metal.